But one farmer says, seems to me there was a tea party in Boston that was illegal too.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold.
We shall seek to establish and maintain a dollar which will not change its purchasing and debt-paying power during the succeeding generation.
As anguished shrieks rose up from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
Government credit and government currency are really one and the same thing. A reserve of gold and a small reserve of silver.
Why do central banks hold it?
Well, it's a form of reserves.
Why don't they hold diamonds?
Well, it's tradition, long-term tradition.
Well, some people still think it's money.
Hey, good morning. Welcome back to the Junius Maltby channel. Metal Detecturists jailed for stealing rare Viking hoard worth millions. Many of you are aware when this story first broke about this hoard, this treasure being discovered. It was pretty interesting. I don't know if I actually even reported on it back then. I do remember reading the articles because, as always, a treasure discovery is always interesting news. It's fun to read about. It's just exciting. We all love it. And it always involves, typically, gold and silver. Because, of course, it just serves as a reminder that it's money since the beginning of time and for the last 70 centuries. So here we read that two metal detectorists who stole, I think they're using that word loosely, but you'll see why. They stole an ancient Viking hoard of national importance from a British field, have been jailed after a judge ruled they had cheated the public out of what should have been national treasure. I'll leave my opinion out of this today, I think, and I'll let you guys discuss it in the comments. I'm sure many of you can guess where I stand on the discovery of a treasure and how it is handled and who should really own it. The state or the individual. That's what it comes down to. George Powell, aged 38, to 51-year-old Leighton Davies, were found guilty of theft, conspiracy to conceal criminal property, and conspiracy to convert criminal property after they failed to declare the find and instead set about selling it. These sentences are actually disturbing to me. Powell was jailed Friday for 10 years and Davies for 8.5 years. Think of that. They didn't physically harm anyone. They didn't rob an institution. They didn't use weapons. They didn't assault anyone. But these guys are being jailed for a decade for not obeying some rule passed by their overlords? I told you it's going to be hard for me to keep my opinion out of this. Oh, wow. Two other men were also found guilty of criminal charges. Simon Wicks, 57, was found guilty of conspiracy to conceal criminal property and conspiracy to convert criminal property and was handed a sentence of 5 years. Paul Wells, 60 years old, was found guilty of conspiracy to conceal criminal property and will be sentenced in December. West Mercia police said in a statement that Powell and Davies discovered the large hoard thought to be worth £3 million. That's $3.9 million in a field in Herefordshire, England in 2015. It contained ornaments, 300 coins, a gold ring, and a pendant made from a sphere of rock crystal bound with gold, among other items. Some of the coins, one of which was issued by King Alfred the Great of Wessex, are thought to have dated from as early as 871 AD and were collected by Vikings. The pair claimed to have found only a couple of gold coins, but investigators recovered deleted images of the full hoard from Powell's mobile phone. The vast majority of the treasure is still missing, with just 31 coins recovered. I'm curious how the investigators even got the phone and how the investigation began, why the overlords didn't just take their word for it on how many they found. Curious. The theft came to light after police were alerted by reports from the metal detecting community and the British Museum, West Mercia police said. Oh, it looks like they're going to answer my question. Sentencing Powell and Davies at Worcester Crown Court on Friday, Judge Nicholas Cartwright berated them for concealing the find. Quote, stealing the items as you did denies the public the opportunity of seeing those items in the way they should be displayed. When treasure is found, it belongs from the moment of finding to the nation, he said. Speaking to the BBC, Gareth Williams, curator of early medieval coinage at the British Museum, said the coins were mostly Anglo-Saxon origin and were of historical significance. They had been buried, he said, by Vikings to protect them. These coins enable us to reinterpret our history at a key moment in the creation of England as a single kingdom, he said. Well, there you have it. Metal detectorists facing stiff sentencing for not turning over the entire treasure and the finding to the government, to the state, to the kingdom, to the crown. Well, I don't know. I think it's a little bit too harsh for them. I don't really like the rule. I mean, I do. It's difficult because I like seeing stuff like this go to a museum, as stated, but I believe it's the individual's right who discovers it to make that decision, really. And if they wish to sell it to a museum, sell it to the crown, or so forth, then let that happen. But I do believe, they found it, they put the work into it. That's just the way it is. It's just, it's unfortunate situation. I hope they get released or something. I don't know how it works over there in England. I guess the Queen would have to make the decision, or Parliament, or whoever, however that works. But yeah, I mean, look at this. It's one thing I found interesting. I was kind of watching the Last Kingdom, and that's kind of like that dramatic series on Netflix about this time period in England's history. It features King Alfred, of all things, and of course Danes, Vikings, and that's why this treasure it's of national historic significance. A lot of interesting stuff there, especially the crystal ball thing. That's I think of that time period, that age, and how difficult it must have been to make a crystal sphere like that, how that was made and fashioned. But the money, just the origins of money, when you look at human history and how we transact with gold and silver, just going all the way back to this time period and seeing coinage, units of exchange struck with images on them, faces, an obverse, a reverse. It's always a nice reminder of the origins of wealth, money, and also how it can just bridge time. I mean, look at this. These coins are from 800 AD, 870 AD, dug up, still containing their metal content, still holding value, still having purchasing power, still capable of being exchanged for goods and services. I mean, all historic and numismatic value, set that aside. Just in metallic value, of course, the purchasing power is different because the goods and services today are much different than they were in 800 AD. However, these still hold the energy that currency would hold and the ability to be transacted with. You could even, if you wished to destroy them, melt them down into ingots, or have them restruck into modern coinage, bullion, and they would have an open market, value as metal. So it's just one of those things I think that's interesting about coinage, and I always find it as a good reminder of what we do here, what we discuss, and those principles. All right, thanks for tuning in, being part of the Junius Maltby channel. Appreciate you for stopping by for this particular story. I'll see you on the next one.